The purpose of my trip to Washington is to present testimony that the Oklahoma Farmers Union gathered on April the 2nd, as well as presenting testimony that has been gathered in 10 other similar meetings across the United States by Farmers Union people. We're going to present the stories that farmers have told us about their financial conditions, and in hopes of waking up the people in Washington, D.C. and letting them know that farmers and ranchers are really having problems, and it'll be to everyone's benefit to make sure that we can keep our farmers and ranchers in business. Markup will begin on Wednesday of the Farm Crisis Act. Congressman Mike Sinar and Congressman Glenn English have been very instrumental in bringing about and being a co-sponsor of this legislation, which I feel that will make improvements on the present farm bill. And we're certainly going to be talking to our congressmen and senators in Washington this coming week and try to persuade them that certainly the Farm Crisis Program is good. And not only our congressmen, we're going to be talking to congressmen from other states to convince them that this is something that's be beneficial to farmers and certainly helpful for our nation.
McKinley Park at 12th and McKinley has been proposed as a site for a new elementary school. Ever since the proposal was made, the park's future has become a hot issue. Opponents saying the school would be flooded out if built on park land, but supporters of the new school disagree. Today, the Oklahoma City Parks Commission listened to citizens and school administrators express their views. The commission recommended that the park not be sold to the school board, basically because it felt like it was being used as a middleman.
I think I resent the park board being put in this position, since it is such an emotional issue. I think that other areas of government have abrogated their duties, or it would not have been thrown to us. And sometimes it seems like when they get a sticky wicket, then they throw it over to somebody else's ball field.
School Superintendent Payzant says he will take the issue to City Council.
Well, it's a different governmental body, and it may be that it would view the matter differently in terms of its broader jurisdiction and broader responsibilities, which go far beyond the narrow jurisdiction of the Park Board, which is just the McKinley Park.
In the meantime, 2 schools near McKinley Park, Eugene Field and Willard, will eventually have to close down. So school administrators say a site for a new school must be found soon. Ed Stewart, Action 4 City Hall.
We did have a public meeting.
The immediate shock of Sunday night's flood may be over, but the reality of its destruction is only beginning. For the Taylors, a lifetime of accomplishment has been washed away. Is your house a total loss?
I would say so. Floors are buckling. Walls are ruined. It'll all have to be replaced.
Most of their furniture is a total loss, and only a small part of their clothing can be saved. With no flood insurance, the disaster has left little choice for Tom Taylor.
There's nothing around here as far as work goes in the oil field, and it's opening up down south now, so we may just go down there. We may go to Arkansas where it's opening up.
Several businesses are also struggling to get back on their feet. This restaurant has been closed for cleanup, but like the sign says, they may be down, but they're not out.
Oh, that was about the only thing I could think to say at the time. We just had to say something, and so that was what I had to say. Down bad, but not out. Just be back as soon as I can.
Activity at the Red Cross shelter has slowed down today. Only a handful of people remain. The recent flood of applicants for disaster relief is closer to a trickle. But the tense hours of waiting and worrying are not over.
We're processing claims. Most of the emergency needs that have been met. We're trying now to begin to get some of the more permanent needs met.
The Cimarron River is well within its banks for now, but people in the area are worried about the threat of more rain tonight. 2 or more inches could send floodwaters rushing once again. Carol Lambert, Action 4 along the Cimarron River. The great Apache war chieftain Geronimo was brought here to Fort Sill in 1894 as a prisoner. During the remainder of his life, he asked several times to be returned to his native homeland of Arizona, but each time his request was in vain. Shortly before his death in 1909, he made one last futile attempt by writing President Theodore Roosevelt. But Geronimo's dying wish was denied. Over 300 Apaches are buried in this graveyard, but chief among them is the monument to Geronimo. He lies here in state with his wife and daughter by his side. Many others from his clan surround his gravesite. But this may not be his final resting place. Apache Indians in Arizona are now taking steps to get his remains returned to his homeland. They feel he was not given a proper burial almost 75 years ago. But many of Geronimo's descendants who live in Oklahoma disagree. After all, he did spend the last 15 years of his life at Fort Sill. They feel his remains should not be disturbed and the national landmark be left alone. The base has taken pride in honoring the great warrior, as can be seen inside this old guardhouse where Geronimo was known to have spent many a night. Tin-plate photographs taken at his surrender and during his custody at Fort Sill align the walls with great stature. It's understandable why both Arizona and Oklahoma Indians are now in dispute about where the chief should remain. Each would like to claim the honor as the final resting place for Geronimo. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at Fort Sill.
Lake Rangers and Oklahoma City Police discovered the body of Joe Rumsey in 15 feet of water at Lake Hefner. Rumsey apparently went to check on his boat Sunday afternoon and was not heard from after that. He was reported missing by his family. It took divers about 10 minutes to locate the body near his boat stall. The medical examiner's office is not sure about the cause of death, but speculate he either had a heart attack or simply slipped into the water and drowned. Lake rangers are warning boaters to be extra careful when the weather is bad and avoid going out on the lakes alone. And rangers plan to be on the lookout for people who may take unnecessary chances in the water. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at Lake Hefner.
A group called Citizens for a Fair School Board met in Moore Tuesday night. These people aren't at all happy with the firing of 6 more educators who allegedly falsified travel expense reports. And now the group is angry again. A special meeting of the board to consider hiring 2 Oklahoma City law firms to assist in litigation is scheduled for Thursday night.
One is forced to ask a very simple question. It's the same night as high school graduation. The board meeting will be at 6 o'clock Thursday night in the admin building, and graduation is at 7:30, an hour and a half later. It seems to me a little bit beyond coincidence that parents are going to be expected to be at their own children's graduations. How can they possibly attend a school board meeting?
But the attorney for the school board says there was no ulterior motive in choosing Thursday night.
This was the earliest possible day that it could be held. And although it is unfortunate that it does come right before graduation, it's also important to keep in mind that the superintendent and the school board will have to be at graduation.
And Postic says outside counsel are needed to help in areas of the law that aren't his expertise. This school board meeting on May 10th drew a large crowd, and members of the citizens group promise another big turnout on Thursday. They aren't happy about the possibility of the board hiring additional lawyers and the expense that goes with it. The Citizens for a Fair School Board say their voices will be heard. Bill Ross, Action 4 in Moore.
The morning began here at a natural gas well just on the outskirts of Elk City.
This is the pipe that makes the drill string. These 17.5-foot joints are screwed together. And we're now
One might think that Florida Governor Bob Graham was here on official business. Not so. He journeyed to Oklahoma to fulfill a personal debt to Governor George Nigh. You see, at the 1981 Orange Bowl, the 2 men made a bet on the outcome of the game between Florida State and OU. The payoff? A day's work by the loser. Well, work on a drilling rig is filthy at best, but Governor Graham took it in good spirits and got right in there alongside the Roughnecks. Everything was progressing smoothly until a minor catastrophe occurred. As you can see, Governor Graham got blessed with mud from head to toe. After a quick wash-up with a shower at hand, he laughingly said his betting days may be over.
I'm a betting man. I'm not going to bet on Oklahoma teams that have got so many Florida players anymore.
You're not? What's so wrong with losing?
Oklahoma's done too good a job of coming down to Florida and getting some of our good football players.
After his hard morning's work on the well, Governor Graham was honored with an old-fashioned barbecue lunch. But no siesta was in store for him. He then spent the afternoon on a grain elevator in Elk City, doing a variety of tasks, including processing wheat. As Governor Graham said earlier, no more bets for him. He knows OU football's the best. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Elk City.
Yeah, we have to figure
Right down there, next to the
maybe we should do it like right in the back there.
There she is.
It took a few minutes, but members of the Pilgrimage for Peace finally decided where they would set up in Kerr Park. And no rally would be complete without a gimmick to get the crowd's attention. In this case, a huge inflatable well is the group's trademark. The pilgrimage left California last Sunday and on their way to New York City. Once in New York, they will demonstrate at the site of the United Nations Special Sessions on Disarmament, with the focus to be against nuclear weapons. The demonstrators say if people care about saving whales, surely they care about saving the human race. And protesters say the nuclear issue is bigger than any whale. Pilgrimage members say they tried to make the rallies as entertaining as possible, hoping to get people to hear their message. From Oklahoma City, it's on to St. Louis. Now at the halfway point of their crusade, the group is looking forward to arriving in New York City on June 4th. They'll recuperate there before going back to California. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at Kerr Park.
Right now, I'm just
Before last year's 1% drop, farmland values rose 9% in 1980 and 16% in 1979. The downward movement is attributed to the weak farm economy, high interest rates, and low commodity prices. The largest decline was in Ohio, where farmland values fell 15% last year. Indiana was second with a 13% decline, followed by Delaware's 10% drop. As far as Oklahoma is concerned, agricultural consultant Larry Wilcox says land in the Sooner State is holding steady. The reason?
We've got two types of land. We've got irrigated land. We've got dry farmland and ranch land. And the two are offsetting each other so that the average is pretty even.
However, Wilcox does feel Oklahoma farmland will soon decrease in value. This is a major concern of Oklahoma Farmers Union President Jimmy Gerald.
Well, this is similar to what happened during the days of the 30s, whenever we saw land prices decrease, and many people lost a lot of money during those times. So farmers and ranchers are approaching that similar situation today, and something has to be done to turn it about and, in my opinion, to get our country back on track.
In order to stop the decline, Gerald says Oklahoma producers need a strong farm program. Not a giveaway program, but a program that will assure adequate returns on investment. Ben McCain, Action 4, Oklahoma City.
I'm praying that we will not kick him out of our school. We need him, people. Let's pray.
The Little Axe School District calls these before-school meetings sharing sessions, but parents of some Little Axe students call them prayer sessions. Joanne Bell and Lucille McCord filed suit to stop the sessions last spring. They argued that the classroom meetings violated the constitutional separation of church and state.
But I don't think that you got any business down here. You ain't nothing but a communist and humanism. You're trying to take what religion that's left in our country out of it.
The lawsuit has not been popular with a lot of Little Axe parents. It hasn't been easy to continue with the court challenge. Joanne Bell's home mysteriously burned to the ground shortly after the lawsuit was filed. Both Bell and McCord say their children have been harassed in the past year. Mrs. Bell has been attacked by an angry school employee, and now it looks like the earliest their lawsuit could be heard would be in late August. However, the setbacks haven't dampened their determination to continue legal action.
We wish that we could have went in February like we were tentatively set to go, and then it would be all water under the bridge, so to speak. We just wanted to hurry up and get here, and we want to have our day in court, you know, and hopefully it will be soon. But we have not changed our minds. No way.
What about you, Lucille McCord? Do you have some of the same feelings that Joanne Bell has? It's been a year since you filed your lawsuit. Have you been harassed, and do you feel the same way about it?
I've talked to my children. My children have, they know what it's all about. They're behind me, and they don't want it dropped any more than I do.
The voluntary prayer question may not be settled until next fall. The school has agreed to suspend the services until after a court ruling. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in Little Axe.
Farmers normally expect the price of their product to decline near or during wheat harvest. But this year, the price was already depressed, so the recent drop is adding to the farmers' frustrations.
A lot of farmers are going to be literally going under and drowning if the price doesn't rebound and somehow give these farmers some hope. So that's the situation. It's our spirits are really dampened. You know, we have hope, and it springs eternal about raising the crop, and we look forward to it with anticipation and eagerness. But then here it comes. We can take the elements and the bugs and all those things. But what is really dampening our spirits is the economic situation that exists in the present time, Ben.
Experts say it costs $5.23 to produce a bushel of wheat. With the current market price ranging from about $3.25 to $3.40 a bushel across the state, it doesn't take long to see how farmers can lose money. Ben McCain, Action 4.
We feel we have the best safety system in the seat belts and the shoulder straps, and that the airbags would not improve the safety of the people. And it's the most economical system that we have right now, and the best for overall for the people's safety. People would still have to wear a shoulder strap with the airbag system. That it's not a case of doing away with it. It would still be that you would wear a shoulder strap.
A spot check of the new garage showed it about half full tonight. The first two levels were at capacity, but the third level looked a little less optimistic. It was only about half full itself, and it wasn't getting any fuller. But there are 5 levels to this garage. Traffic doesn't filter that high, and the top 2 levels are virtually empty. The parking lot just north of the tower is full, as it usually is, but the city didn't spend several $1 million on the ground level uncovered lot. They want the public to use the new tower more fully for their own benefit, as well as the city's. Starting late Tuesday, parking rates in the tower will be cut nearly in half. The new rate for the tower will be $1 for the first hour, then 50 cents for each additional 30 minutes. The daily rate will be fixed at $4.50. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4, at Will Rogers World Airport.
Led by the TV personality Linda Lavin, thousands of ERA supporters marched towards Oklahoma's capital. They had come from as far away as Washington State and as near as Norman. Amendment proponents are battling the clock, as well as reluctant legislators. In order for the amendment to be added to the U.S. Constitution, 3 more states must approve the measure before June 30th. Following the march, the ERA supporters ended up here on the south steps of the Capitol. They said they had a message for state leaders, and that message came through loud and clear.
Governor George Nigh has 24 days to give meaning to the words, "You're doing fine, Oklahoma." He must join with the other Democratic governors, James Hunt and Robert Graham, in providing the leadership to ratify the 27th Amendment. We rally today to demand a place in the Constitution. We rally today to tell the Oklahoma lawmakers that we voted for you. Now it's your turn to vote for us.
The Oklahoma legislature turned thumbs down on the ERA earlier this year. The session has since recessed until after the ratification deadline. Amendment supporters want Governor Nigh to call the lawmakers back together to consider the proposal again before time runs out. But the governor has said he knows of no change in the lawmakers' attitude that would prompt him to call such a session.
This state has a chance to make history. This state has a chance to make Governor Nigh a hero. And that chance is in the hands of a few men. They would not say no if their rights were in jeopardy. We cannot say no. We must say yes. ERA, yes.
Amendment backers say that if state lawmakers don't say yes to the ERA by June 30th, then they'll say no when the legislators come up for re-election this fall. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the state capitol.
We have federal laws that...
Of the 12 flocks in which the disease was discovered in the past year, 8 were in Oklahoma. More than 3,000 sheep valued at almost $1 million have been destroyed in the Sooner State. Scrapie is a disease of sheep and goats. It attacks the central nervous system of the animals.
There's a loss of wool, there's incoordination, they appear to be highly nervous and do a lot of rubbing. These are some of the symptoms that we find, and at that time if we suspect Scrapie, we take the animal and send the brain to the diagnostic laboratory, either at Stillwater or to Ames, and if it comes back positive, then there's no alternative but to try and get this flock out of circulation, you might say.
Dr. Vogel says the reason the animals are destroyed is because Scrapie is incurable. Research continues to try and find more about this disease, but answers are hard to come by. Dr. Vogel says they just don't know much about it. However, he adds that the infection that broke out last summer in Oklahoma has been 90 to 95% traced out and eliminated. Ben McCain, Action 4.